Thank you everyone for being here. We have the pleasure and honor of Dorene Dominguez being our first speaker in our Transformative Latina Leadership Speaker Series. The reason I emphasize the A is because despite some limited celebration on the part of the university, we're celebrating this year 50 years of women at Notre Dame.
Yes.
And so all of our speakers in the Latino Studies Speaker Series are going to be women who are graduates of Notre Dame. And Dorene is our first. Dorene is the chairwoman and CEO of Vanir, and she's been in that position since 2004. She's continuing the legacy of her father, who founded the company in 1964. She's successfully now positioned Vanir as a national leader in program, project, and construction management and real estate development, delivering approximately $25.8 billion in value to clients across the United States. In addition to leading Vanir, Dorene is a trustee of the University of Notre Dame. She sits on our board of trustees. And she serves on the university's Audit and Stewardship Committee. Money. Audit and Stewardship?
Yeah.
Money? Yeah.
One of us, building program.
Building programs.
Right.
That makes sense.
And then audit and finance.
She's also active on various corporate and nonprofit boards and councils, including KB Home Board and a member of their Audit, Nominating, and Corporate Governance Committee. Douglas Emmett, where she's a board member. She is a member of the Coca-Cola Hispanic Advisory Council. She's a member of the Aspen Institute's Latinos in Society Program Advisory Council. And lastly, she's a board member of Pride Industries. I'm sure I've missed a few there, right? She's also a former chairwoman, and therefore is a dear friend, of our Institute for Latino Studies here at Notre Dame. She is as well an avid community supporter and sports fan. She's a member of the governing group that aggressively pursued and ultimately purchased the Sacramento Kings professional basketball team in 2013. She's the first Latina to be an owner of a basketball team that has NBA governing status. But her greatest passion, and there are many other things I could say about Dorene, her greatest passion is her work with underserved students. She formed the Dominguez Dream in memory of her father, H. Frank Dominguez, a 501c3 public nonprofit organization in 2004. The Dominguez Dream is committed to empowering children in underserved communities to achieve their full potential through literacy, STEM, social emotional learning, and parent engagement programs. The Dominguez Dream works to transform the way students learn by partnering with school administrators, staff, and teachers to identify the areas of greatest need for individual students. Dorene is a graduate of the University of Notre Dame. She graduated with a bachelor's degree in finance and holds a certificate in corporate governance from Harvard University. And most importantly, Dorene is a dear friend of my wife, Charlene Aguilar.
That's right.
Where are you, Charlene? I don't see you. There she is. Of my wife, Charlene Aguilar, and me. She has been an incredible supporter of the Institute for Latino Studies, and she is an untiring supporter of her alma mater, the University of Notre Dame. So let's please give it a warm Irish welcome to Dorene Dominguez.
Thank you, Louise and Charlene, for that, for the introduction, amazing introduction. I don't know if I can fulfill all those roles, and so, to talk about all those roles in this short amount of time. But thank you so much for having me. I'm so glad to see so many familiar faces, and let's go on with the questions.
Okay, so I'm going to ask questions for about 35, 40 minutes, and then we'll open it up to the audience to ask any questions. And we'll try to finish up at about the hour, because Dorene has a lunch meeting back at the Morris Inn at 2 o'clock. Okay? So, Dorene, tell us about your family background. Where were you born? Where did you grow up? What was that like? And what's your fondest memory that you've grown up with in growing up in California.
So yes, I'm from California. I grew up in a small town in the San Bernardino County area. I went to Colton High School. That's east of East LA, if any of you are familiar with California. Colton High was a little rough neighborhood. We primarily Latinos, but diversified. And when I say rough, we had gangs and stabbings and shootings, and so that's what I mean by rough. I was really fortunate that a teacher took some interest in me and said, you know what, Dorene, what about applying to the University of Notre Dame when you graduate from high school? I think it would be a great fit for you. She knew my Catholic values, my faith, and then also she thought that getting out of that neighborhood might be a good stretch for me. And so that's how I ended up at Notre Dame. One of you said one of my favorite things to do when I was in San Bernardino, and I do a lot of philanthropy work in the city of San Bernardino today and give back to my alma mater. But my dad had a motorhome and used to take us on vacation throughout Utah and Idaho, and saw the Snake River, and it was just such a delight to be a part of that.
Tell us about your dad.
My dad, Mexican American, was born in San Bernardino in a home. He was quite the entrepreneur and very visionary. He didn't graduate from college, but was stationed in the U.S. Army in Nuremberg, Germany, and that's where he met my mom. So I'm half Mexican, half German. My dad came back to Colton, California, and worked for a title company. And when he worked for the title company, he learned about real estate. So he bought a duplex, leveraged that, bought a fourplex, and then constructed the largest building in downtown San Bernardino called the Vanir Tower today, without an education. And I say, if he could do it, that inspired me. His work ethic, both my parents. My mother was a seamstress. She worked in a sewing factory. She made all our clothes because we were not wealthy enough to buy them, but she was an incredible seamstress. And so even though we came from humble beginnings, my dad really demonstrated the American dream.
So, Dorene, did you apply to any other schools besides Notre Dame that were outside of California or even in California?
No, I applied to many schools in California. Notre Dame was the only school I applied outside of California. In fact, I didn't know where Notre Dame was. I didn't even know about Notre Dame at all. But this teacher is the one that made me, say, please apply. And when I applied and I got accepted, I said, wow. I thought, my father was very strict, and I thought, wow, this is an opportunity to have some wings and be adventurous. And I had the courage to take off, and I went sight unseen. I didn't go visit the campus. I just showed up and said, here I am. And when I got here, I looked at all the students and I said, oh my goodness, Daddy, they're a lot smarter than me, just by looking at them. And I want to go home. And he said, Mija, no, you did a great decision. You made a great choice. You're staying. And that was my first day.
Wow. So what was it like being a Latina student at the School of Business? Was it called Mendoza then, or did it not have a name?
No, it was not called Mendoza. Mm-hmm. And I was probably one of the first women and only Latinas to be in the School of Business. But I say, though, it taught me so much, because I'm in construction, I'm in politics, and I'm in sports. And that is, so it prepared me for a male-dominant industry, being in business finance. So I thought, I went to Notre Dame, it prepared me for some of those challenges. And it was a great gift.
Great. Dorene, did you face any difficulties when you were here at Notre Dame? Or, many of us when we go to college face imposter syndrome and all that sort of thing. So did you have any sense of that?
Well, I still struggle with imposter syndrome. So I mean that I think that's something that you deal with, all the time. But I think that Notre Dame helped me identify who I was or who I am today. I really learned what it meant to be a Latina and really understand who I was. And I carried that with such pride. And that was the value that Notre Dame gave me because when I was in high school, everybody was Latino. Everybody had tamales. Everybody had menudo on Sunday. But when I came to Notre Dame, I was able to share my culture, share my music, share who I was. And the students were so excited to learn more about being, who I was and how different I was, from them. And so that was a gift to Notre Dame. And that was a gift that I was able to give as a Latina student. And Notre Dame gave me an incredible education and opened so many doors for me. I mean, the alumni group here at Notre Dame is fantastic. And that's one of the things that you'll all benefit from as well.
Dorene, you mentioned that your dad is Mexican-American and your mom was German originally, German-American now. Do you consider yourself a biracial person, and how do you think of that duality?
He gave me this question prior, and I told him, oh my goodness, that's the hardest question. Because first of all, I identify myself as a Latina through and through. No disrespect to my German heritage, but I think growing up in Colton, California, mostly Latinos, having the food, the culture, and then also I don't look like a German, right? So I really gravitate towards my Latina heritage, but I don't have it figured out. I mean, I don't know. When I went to Turkey and our interpreter didn't show up, I was able to speak German. And they said, what, a Latina speaking German? Oh my gosh, this is incredible.
This is unusual.
This is unusual. So sometimes, my German heritage does pop up. German was my first language because my mom only speaks German. My father speaks German, or did speak German, Spanish, and English. But I think it's a gift being biracial. I think because I have the German side, I can understand that side. But also, society also puts pressures on you to pick one. And I think that because I love the Mexican culture, I love being that voice for Latinos, and I love that side of the culture that I'm more familiar with than the German.
You've grown Vanir and expanded its work both in California and outside. Did you have that as a vision when you became president and CEO? Did you come in and say, I'm going to grow this company? Yes,
I did. What was really important to me in terms of growing the company was not only growing it nationally and geographically, but really looking into the company and diversity, inclusion, and equity. Construction, as I mentioned, and politics and sports is very male-dominant industries. And I wanted to see that change. So I have a project called Valleywise in Maricopa County. It's a $1.6 billion hospital project. It has the largest burn center in the United States. And I'm proud to say that 82% of my staff are women, not the guys. And the women are hitting it out of the ballpark. The county is so proud of this project and so proud of the women that have made this project happen. And so I would like to be that voice saying, this is not just a male-dominant industry. This is for women. And women can make a great impact on our community. And they've done a wonderful job on this project. 64% of my company is diverse. Diversity is very important to me. And diversity of not just nationality, not just gender, but diversity of thought. Having new ideas come into my company is so important. For the Maricopa County, this woman, she was Jewish American. She worked for a larger firm, and nobody would take her ideas seriously. And I told her, come join my company. Give her a voice. Let her pursue this project. Not only did she win it, we were able to really diversify that crew and that staff and deliver an excellent project to the county.
Was it hard? That's what I want to say. Was it hard to find qualified, diverse candidates? Because so often we hear, well, of course we're committed to diversity, especially in the private sector, but we can't find qualified people. What was your experience in that project?
Yeah, I hear that all the time. That's not true. I mean, it's partly you have to grow your own. You have to give somebody an opportunity and a chance, because they might not be the perfect candidate with all the experience, but maybe they have the desire and the know-how and a different paradigm thinking of how to approach that project. And sometimes you have to be open to that. I have a program here called the Notre Dame Experience, where I partnered with the Dean of Admissions 7 years ago, John Bishop at the time. And we had coffee, and we talked about, I had this idea of bringing underserved students, primarily Latino students, and giving them access to the Dean of Admissions so that they would know about Notre Dame, because I didn't know about Notre Dame. And we had that coffee, and at first he was a little skeptical, and he says, well, Dorene, okay, let's do it. Let's try it. So we did a pilot program, and we did that pilot program with NAC, Nicholas Academic Center. And I know that there's many students from that, from NAC. And there was a gentleman, a Jewish judge by the name of Jack Mandel, who said, you know what? I've had this after-school program with Latino kids, and none of them have gone to Notre Dame. We have they've gone to Harvard, Yale, Princeton, but Notre Dame's not here. And so, of course, he challenged me. And I took on his challenge. And I'm proud to say we have more NAC kids coming to Notre Dame now, and it's such a beautiful thing to see. But the answer to your question is we got to identify these kids. There's so many out there that are qualified. And then, are they qualified to be engineers and architects? Absolutely. And do we grow our own, and do we give them that opportunity? Absolutely. But it takes a paradigm shift. We have to say, you know what, let's give them that opportunity. And same in business. Yes, it's primarily construction, you think, and sports, right? A male-dominant industry, but that can change. And that can change, and that changes with me and with my company. And looking for that talent, identifying that talent, and growing that talent. And I'm so committed to that. And if not me, then who, right? If I'm not doing it, who's going to do that? I have to be that voice. And I challenge all of you to be that voice as well.
Dorene, I remember when you were on our ILS Advisory Council before you got, I'm not sure if it's promoted or demoted, but anyway, got put on the Board of Trustees, clearly a promotion. You were most impressed, I remember, during our annual meetings with the discussion and presentations made by students. Getting to hear them, getting to hear their voices. What did that mean to you, or what did you learn, or why were you always so moved by what our students said?
You have amazing students, Louise, and we have amazing students here at Notre Dame. Their stories, who they are, what they're trying to do, what they're trying to accomplish does move me. And not only that, I have identified several of you students to come work for Vanir. I see that potential. It's a breeding ground for me. So I'm like a kid in a candy store because I see so much talent. And it is exciting to see and hear where they come from. I can identify with most of them and their struggles and their challenges, but also their ambitions and what they want to accomplish and where they want to go. And I want to give them that opportunity if they're interested in architecture or civil engineering or sports or any of the things that I'm involved in. But in terms of I'm so grateful to be a member of the Board of Trustees for Notre Dame. I love Notre Dame. Notre Dame has given me so much, and this is a way for me to give back. And the Board of Trustees, they're such a good group of people, and they've welcomed me with open arms, and they've given me a voice to make appropriate changes on the board or at Notre Dame. They've welcomed me in so many ways, and I hope that one of these days that one of you become a trustee as well, that you think about giving back in that way.
Did you aspire to become a member of the Board of Trustees? Did you strategize as to how to try to become a member of the Board of Trustees, or in good Notre Dame fashion, were you anointed to be a member of the Board of Trustees? That's a joke. You're supposed to at this point.
No. In fact, when I was asked, I was actually shocked. I wasn't expecting that at all. No campaign, no lobbying. I did have a couple of dinners with Father Jenkins, and he did ask me some pointed questions and my thoughts, but never did I think that I would even be considered. And I think almost that was one of the reasons I got selected. It wasn't because I was lobbying for it, but I felt that I wanted to do good by the university because the university did good by me.
Is there anything that surprised you that you can talk about? I know your meetings are, confidential and so forth, but within the range of what you can talk about, anything that surprised you in being on the Board of Trustees?
Two things. One is Joe O'Neill came up to me and gave me a big hug. He's a big Texas guy from oil and gas. That's his industry. And said, "Young lady, welcome to Notre Dame. Welcome to the trustees. And I want you to know that you are the future face of Notre Dame. That Latinos are the face of the Catholic Church, and we are so excited to have you on this board." And that was such a warm welcome. And then I remember also, coming in, with my fancy car and, first board meeting, and the other trustees coming in their fancy jets.
Vanir doesn't have a jet yet?
No, Vanir doesn't have a jet, not yet. But the point, what I'm trying to say though, is that these people have made it. They're, far more successful than I am. But such a warm welcoming and such a love for Notre Dame that it was very humbling to be a part of this trustee board. And I was just in awe with, but Notre Dame is about community and love, right? I guess I shouldn't have expected anything less, but it was just such a great feeling. And it was such a good, and the other thing too about that is that once you think you made it, there's always someone that has made it a little more than you have. And there's someone also that needs a hand coming up. And to always remember where you come from and always be that hand up. Because, it's so important for me to give back. And when I give back and I help others, I feel more complete about who I am as a human being. And that's the Notre Dame spirit. And I hope all of you, implement that and help someone else that, I know that, Luis, you were telling me about your mentor protege and that the juniors mentor the freshmen. I think that's great. That's a wonderful program.
Right. In conversations that we've had, private conversations that we've had, Charlene, you and I, it's very apparent to me that you've been active in supporting a range of elected officials for some time. Why do you do that? Why are you actively engaged in politics as well?
Well, a lot of my contracts are government contracts. And money is the milk of politics, right? And I think there's three stools in order to help a healthy economy. One is you need to have the education. So Notre Dame provides that, the education piece. Then there's the political piece to provide, to allow for access and change of policies, and then the third stool is the economic development. And that's one thing that I'm very committed to, and that is the empowerment of wealth for all. So you heard me talk about diversity and inclusion, but there's the equity piece as well. It's important that our community have equity as well as education. And the only way that's going to happen is if we promote good policy and politics. I'm a moderate, not a progressive. I think that there's some good progressive ideas, but I think you got to know how to pay for it. So that's important. I was telling Louise earlier that an exciting project that I'm working on. It's with the it's in Dallas, and I was able to lobby for a great policy in terms of inclusion for women minority participation on this $5 billion project. And I think that's important to what I meant in terms of why policy is important and how we can be more inclusive to allow empowerment for economic development for our cities, but more importantly for our communities, that they can participate in wealth as well.
And you said, if I remember correctly, in that project that a very substantial percentage of your employees assigned to that project are women?
That's for Maricopa County, the one in Arizona, but this one hasn't.
Could you describe that
This one hasn't occurred yet.
Okay. So it will happen.
I can't be.
Yeah.
I can't speak. We haven't won the project, so I can't speak to it yet. But it's a large project, and it's. But I really believe in diversity, inclusion, and equity, and diversity in terms of LGBT, Hispanic, African Americans, women, of course, coming together and building a community. That's important. And
can you describe the project in Maricopa County in Arizona? What are you doing?
We are the lead.
What is the work?
We are the prime. It's a $1.6 billion project. It's a hospital project. It has the largest burn center in the United States. It's a county supervisors that, and then they have their board of trustees over Maricopa County. It's a beautiful project. It's a hospital that goes into the cities as opposed to just one hospital where the community has to go to the hospital. So it has like spokes into the community. So there's several different hospitals. It is, it's women led, as I mentioned, and it's almost done. So it's a very successful project.
How did you get that contract?
This is not the one.
No, the one.
Maricopa
County.
I think I mentioned before about a Jewish woman that was tracking this project, and she was not taken seriously in the company she was working for. And we happened to meet each other And I gave her that voice to follow this project and win this project for us.
And that's how it turned out.
I think that the company she was working for didn't take her seriously. Many times women aren't taken seriously. I mean, you go to get your car service, right? And sometimes you have to bring your husband or a guy friend because they don't think you know about cars. And I think the same in construction sometimes. But you're talking about Dallas.
Yeah. So Dorene, you're on, as I mentioned earlier, a number of corporate boards. What do we need to know about being a board member that most of us won't know and probably will never know because we're unlikely to be on a corporate board? What do you think the public needs to know about that sort of work?
Yeah, I think that many of you will be on corporate boards someday because I think having your voice on corporate boards are really key and important. So one is having a voice, to be vocal, add value. Don't take that seat and not add value. And then thirdly, it's really important that you know finance, that you know how a company works in terms of its financial basis. And then remember, you're on that board for as a fiduciary to the stockholders.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to do what's best for the stockholders of that board. Now, with that said, diversity, inclusion, and equity are not help companies become more profitable. That social bottom line, that triple bottom line, as communities develop, has become more and more important financially. And you have to understand how all those link together and being that voice for that corporation. I will tell you that according to Latino Donor Collaborative, and this was in 2019, that the American Latino GDP is greater than the country of France. If we were a country, we would be the 8th largest GDP in the United States. What does that mean to a company? And we're the youngest cohort. So if we're the youngest cohort, our GDP is almost as great as France, or is as great as France. That means that company should pay attention to this community because it's going to make you a lot of money. And that helps the stockholders, right? That's what they're looking for. So I would say, yes, you need to look at all of that and understand how they all, work together. And not only are we the future, as Joe O'Neill said, to Notre Dame, but so are we to America.
Dorene, I want to go back to a comment that you made about your faith. Why is your Catholic faith, important to you?
My Catholic faith is very important to me. It sustains me. It makes me who I am. It gives me the courage to speak up, to be in this seat today. My faith, I could do nothing without God and our Lord Jesus Christ. And I really pay homage and contribute to Father Hesberg. He signed my diploma, by the way. So I graduated in 1985. And he always talked about the Holy Spirit. And I tell you, that's what stirs my heart. And my faith and that's why Notre Dame is so important to America as well. Because we're the only university, or not the only one, but only major university that can speak to that. Unfortunately, the Harvards and Yales, sometimes they get slapped on the hand if they get too godly. We, as a community, can really raise that up. And that is the gift to America. That is gift, not just to America, to the world. And I'm so grateful to be a part of this university, and so grateful for my faith. And my faith really, I mean, I was telling, I took a group of young students out last night, or 6 of us. And I was telling them when I was in high school, to try to figure out what I wanted to be in life, they had us take this exam, or a personality exam, right?
Yeah,
to
I
know what
remember.
your strengths and weaknesses are. I took this exam, and personality exam, and it said that I should be a priest. Well, that wasn't going to happen, right? But I think what it meant, though, that I always had that in me, that the Holy Spirit was very embedded in me, and that I love to give back, and I love to minister. And that is my true passion and my mission in life. And I'm so grateful for Notre Dame to actually help me mature that. And even though I'm not a priest today, I'm involved in so many things that I can give back.
And Dorene, what's your favorite spiritual place here at Notre Dame?
Oh my goodness, there's so many, but I would have to say the grotto.
Did you visit it when you were an undergrad?
Oh,
Before every final exam, or, when did you go to the grotto? That's a joke again, you're supposed to laugh.
so I went to the grotto quite often, but also, going to mass in your pajamas at your dorm was always fun. Father Simon was a priest that really also took some interest in me, and really developed my faith, and I just there's so many mentors here at Notre Dame that I know that, coming from Colton High School, I wasn't prepared for the rigorous academics here. And so many students came to my aid in helping me with my classes, making sure I did okay. And that's the other thing about this community, is that we're not here to sabotage each other. We're here to help each other. And we are here to help each other. Our weakest link is our greatest strength. And I'm so, I keep on saying I'm so grateful, but I am so grateful that I was able to graduate with the help of other students and the faculty. And who would think I would even become a trustee with that journey?
So I'm about to finish with my questions, so think of the questions you'd like to ask our guest. So what advice do you have for the next generation of Latino leaders, Latinx leaders here at Notre Dame?
Think big. Think big. Dream, my regrets are what I didn't do, not what I did do. Don't be afraid of failing. I call it failing up and lessons learned. Very important that you have that courage and take a chance. I think it's also important to have that voice. Speak up. Find that voice. Don't be afraid. Make sure that you help someone behind you. The best way to learn your craft is to teach your craft. Enjoy life, follow your passion, and those are. And then I know for Latinas.
That was my next question.
Yeah, for Latinas, I think it's really important to know that you can have it all. And what I mean by that, we all have to make choices. Don't get me wrong, but as Latinas, we balancing family and career. I have one young lady. She didn't go to Notre Dame, but she has her master's at civil engineering from Columbia. She's a mentee of mine. She has 2 children. Her husband's studying to be a doctor, and she is on that trajectory of becoming the CEO of Vanir someday. She's going to have it all. But find a company that's going to work with you, that's going to know when to give you some time off for your children, to know when, push you hard. She she can have it all, and you can have it all as well. Don't feel like you have to make choices, but you have to plan well. You have to have the right situation in terms of company and making sure that, and that's if you want to be a CEO. I mean, you may want to be something else, I don't know, but don't think that you do have to sacrifice, I mean, but don't think that you have to pick one or the other. You can be a mother and family member and also be in corporate America or in politics or in sports.
Last question. Is there any question I should have asked that I did not ask that you'd like to share, answer you'd like to that question, that you'd like to share with the group here?
Any question you didn't ask? Well, no. I'm looking forward to hearing some of your questions, and maybe I'll chime in.
Okay, good. Thank you, Dorene. Let's give her an initial round of applause. So now it's your turn to ask questions. If you wouldn't mind standing up, and if you're a student, saying what your major and your hometown are, so Dorene can know. And Dorene promised me that she would answer everything perfectly honestly, because she's always that way. Questions? Yes, stand up, please.
My name is Melissa. Sorry, my voice is a little bit scratchy. I'm from Santa Ana, California. My major is science business. And my question to you, Dorene, is I know you've already had many accomplishments and been inspirational to so many students, but what would you say your goal is for the future? Or how do you envision Notre Dame within the next 5 years?
Envision the next time. What was the first?
Yeah, how do you envision Notre Dame within the next 5 years?
So the Dean of Admissions, Mickey Kidder, is very excited about the program, the Notre Dame experience that I and my company is sponsoring. She has said that she wants to triple what we've been doing. So I see Notre Dame really embracing diversity and inclusion, and I see the next 5 years getting even greater and better in terms of those statistics. And also what's important is that it's not diversity for diversity's sake. All the students that get admitted to Notre Dame that are diverse are very qualified. I can do the work. They just need the opportunity. In addition, I want all of you to know that you are helping Notre Dame. It's a two-way street. And what I mean by that, Notre Dame gets ranked based on its diversity numbers. So you are very valued. So it's a two-way street. And it's important that we have inclusion and diversity at Notre Dame. But it's only going to get better. So thank you for the question.
Another question? Even non-students can ask questions. Somebody's got a question. Yes, please, stand up.
Hello, Dorene. Nice to meet you. I'm Desmond Delgado from Ontario, California. And
So you know my neighborhood.
I do. Part of my reason for being here is I have 2 young daughters, and I'm always looking for role models for them. And when I first came across your name and heard about you, I realized that you were someone that they could look up to. As a father, what would you say that some of your biggest takeaways were from your dad that inspired you and helped you to become as successful as you are?
You know, my father was a great role model for me. Not only was he my mentor, my father, but he also really encouraged me to be the best I could be. In 2004, January 6th, I had breakfast with him that morning, and we were talking about company business, and he went off to work. And that afternoon, he died of a heart attack. It was a Friday. It's really, really probably one of the most difficult times in my life. And Monday, I had to call a board meeting and take over the company. It was that abrupt. But I have to say that his spirit lives in me. His voice I can still hear. I know that he gave me unconditional love and that he always expected the best from me. And so this legacy, this company I have, is not just a company. It is his legacy and mine. And I take it very seriously. And I make sure that it's quality pristine because it's our name. It's his name and his values and what his what he decided what he wanted to be. And not to be preachy, but in the Bible it says to honor your mother and father, right? And great things will happen. Really believe that honoring your parents is so important. My father was visionary, artistic, and he's taught by example. He never gave me the answers to the questions. Never. And that was frustrating because when I worked for him, he'd say, I want you to go do this. I said, Dad, I'm not sure how. I mean, I went to business school, but this was not in the textbook. And go figure it out. I'm not going to give you the answer. You go figure it out. And thank goodness, right? Because he's gone today and I have to figure it out. He gave me the tools, always watching over me, but never gave me the answer. So my advice to you is love them unconditionally with all your heart. And I know you do. And then secondly, expect great things from them. My dad always expected, and I thought it was too much pressure at the time. I was like, my goodness, nothing's good enough, But it was really a gift. Because, when I'd reach for that bar, he'd make it a little higher. Now I reach higher and higher. Who would think? I mean, I'm the CEO of this company. I sit on several corporate boards. I own a basketball team. I mean, it's my dad's little voice, right? And I'm so grateful to him. And I look forward to meeting your daughters. And then Colton. What do you think of Colton?
Yeah, like I said, it's a little rough. I have a good friend who
Little rough.
I met in college. He went to Rialto High. So.
Okay, a little rough. But I give back to that community, and we're working with the city of San Bernardino to revitalize downtown economic development, and we have a whole playbook through the Aspen Institute to help achieve that second or that third stool that I was talking about, economic development and growth and wealth for that community. So thank you for the question.
Another question. Yes, right here.
Hi, my name is Grecia Alcántar. I'm from East Chicago, Indiana. I'm also very inspired by you because it's nice to see a person that looks like me being so successful, and also like you, in my school, I'm the first in 20 years to go to a school like this. But my question to you is that as a Latina, how did you manage to really maneuver to your position right now in an industry that's dominated by white men?
Well, I think one thing is owning the fact that I'm a Latina, really, really being proud of it and not being, and using it to your benefit. I think there's a lot of conversation around diversity, equity, and inclusion. And as I mentioned, the numbers in terms of the GDP that Latinos are providing America, that's a huge tool to use. That's not just you alone, but that's your whole community. And speaking about those numbers in that community. And then, because honestly, the dollar is green, regardless if a Latino holds it or a white male holds it, or, it's green. And money in communities and in business, they'll listen. That is a conversation that everybody will listen to. And if you can show how this can be helpful, then, so I think it's using facts, understanding who you are and how you can benefit and add value.
Another question? Yes. In the back, please.
Okay, yes. Hi, I'm Isabella. I'm from Bogota, Colombia. And I wanted to ask about maybe how your identity as a Latina has maybe like changed over the years. Like, has it been constant, or like how has it been like forming yourself?
My Latina-ness,
Yeah, your Latin identity.
my identity. Yeah, it's a journey. It's not like all of a sudden you wake up and you say, oh my goodness, I'm a Latina. Yeah, I think it's a journey. And I think it's really important that you value who you are and what that means. Being a Colombian, Encanta, right, was a great movie that really put a bright light on Colombians and the culture and how great it is. And being proud of that and sharing your Latina-ness and your culture with others. When I was here at Notre Dame, I love sharing my culture, but also I was able to learn about other people's culture. I did a study abroad in Ireland, Scotland, and England, and Paris. And the community here in Notre Dame, mostly was Irish. I learned a lot about Ireland and the Irish, and we were able to share, in so many ways they're similar, and we were able to exchange fun anecdotes, and it's knowing who you are. It's a journey, and then also being able to share and being proud of it.
Any other questions?
I'd like to ask a
Yes,
question.
please.
Hi, Dorene. I'm Chrissy Winter, faculty member at Institute for Educational Initiatives. You've spoken so beautifully about your faith, community, helping others, being Latina, being female. And I would just love to hear you speak a little bit about your experiences and beliefs about women helping women in the workplace.
Oh, yes.
Yes, and have you had experiences, given the small number of leadership positions for women, where women don't maybe
Yes.
take up that message? And I would just love to hear more about that.
Thank you for asking that question.
Yes.
That is such an important question, because so many times, and the guys are not like this. The guys help the guys,
Yeah.
right?
That's right.
But women, oh my goodness, they're, I call it the queen bee syndrome, that sometimes women make it to the top and they don't want to help other women. And I haven't understand it. I know that younger women are starting to not be so critical of each other, but women have been our worst enemies in terms of helping. I'm trying to tear down that thinking, and that we need to work together as women, and that we need to help each other. And I feel very responsible as a woman in this leadership role that I need to go ahead and voice that and make sure that women help women. So important. And to try to understand why they don't, I don't know. I mean, I don't get it, but I certainly want to tear down why that is destructive to women. We have to have an abundance mentality, not fight over the crumbs. We deserve a place at the table, and it shouldn't be, okay, only one woman. It should be many women. And I'll have to say, women, when they are in leadership and they work together, they're hard workers. They balance so much. My single mothers are one of the hardest working cohorts in my business because they have to juggle so much. They don't have time to not get it done, right? And but that always is a conundrum of why women don't help women. I do see the younger women more collaborative, but I'd be curious and love to have a conversation offline of, how do we tear down that thinking, and how do we promote more women helping women? Because I think that if women take their rightful role in the United States and in the world, we will have a much better, peaceful world. Sorry, Louise, on that one.
One last question? Anyone? Yes, please.
My name is Kenna Arana, and I'm from West Covina, California. My question, so I was surprised to hear you express that you still struggle with imposter syndrome, because when Dr. Fraga was introducing you, it's so clear how accomplished you are. So I'm curious, when you step into a situation where you may feel uncomfortable or feel like an imposter, are there things that you do to prepare, or how do you combat that?
Yeah, that's a good question. Because I'm always the first in the room, it's always, most of my meetings are all white male. How do I combat that? I pray. I go back to my faith, and that centers me. Then I also prepare myself by understanding that I deserve to be at the table just like anyone else. And then thirdly, I have to be over-prepared. I can't just wing it. I need to be prepared. And I also feel that being the only woman in the room or Latina, that I have a huge responsibility for the rest of them that are behind me. Because if I mess up, they're not going to let someone else in the room. So it's a tremendous lot of responsibility. And then I was told, and I was sharing this with Melly last night, is that as a CEO, okay, one of my worst fears, honestly, is public speaking. Okay, it's very difficult for me.
It's hard to believe.
I know, right? But it is. And I'm a CEO. And I was part of the CEO group. And I was whining about, I have to public speak, and I have to, do these, conferences, and and I just get so anxiety and imposter syndrome. And they said, "Are you the face of your company?" I said, "Yes." You know what they said? Get over it. Get over it. And it's true. You just got to get over it. You got to have the courage, and you have to speak up. And then after I do it, people really value what I had to say. So I don't know if I'll ever get over it, but those are the 4 steps that I take. But thank you for the question.
Dorene, I know you have a lunch meeting. I just want to say thank you for your honesty. Thank you for your transparency. And especially thank you for your inspirational advice and words. We all benefit from you being on the Board of Trustees, and we hope you're there for many, many years to come. Notre Dame needs your voice. So one last thank you. I think there's some modest eats outside if anyone needs to pick up a half sandwich for lunch or anything of that sort. So please help yourselves. Thank you, Dorene. It was
Thank
lovely.
you, Louise.